So hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Dossier Project. As we always say, please like us, our page, and subscribe. And if you follow us, you may have known or noticed, that we were doing a series on friendship. So for today, we are going to discuss our friendships with our masters while we were in DOS, and bunch of things, how we related to them, and what it had to do also, even accepting for some of us to be in DOS. So your thoughts, how was your relationship with your masters? Was there any friendship, or what do you guys want to share?
I loved my relationship with my master. I knew her for quite some time before DOS ever started. And I saw her, I saw her as a friend. I also saw her as like a front runner, like a co-front runner. I felt like we had very much similar missions in what we were doing. She was leading the source, and I was leading one of the co-leaders of XOSO. And I felt very simpatico in that way, like strong women who had a mission, who wanted to bring more compassion and humanity and ethics to our fields, hers being acting and mine being medicine. And I felt very close with her in that way, very inspired by her in that way also. And yeah, I think that for me was like a big part of why our relationship was unique, and a big part of why it was so valuable to me. In general, I think we, had a friendship beyond that and started to develop a friendship beyond that. But I think those deeper values, those were the foundation of our relationship. And it wasn't until much later, that she invited me to join DOS. And before that time, I had worked with her in XOSO, and she took my sexy classes, and I did some of her acting classes. And we also just, a lot of our relationship actually was very much involved in those things, like pushing those like-minded projects together. There wasn't as much hanging out, so to speak. We did at times, but there wasn't as much actually until I joined DOS. And then we actually spent more time together as I was introduced to the other women in my circle. We would, go into the town, go into the village, spend more time together, go to coffee shops, do different things with each other that were more personal, intimate, stuff like that. And I actually built more of a friendship with her through DOS than I had before that. But very much maintained a respect and a reverence for her deeper values and wanting to evolve and grow. So it was a very nice, very missed relationship in my life, for sure.
I didn't know her super well, but what I did know of her, I think I knew of her for many, many years, and someone I deeply respected, deeply admired. I just thought she was an amazingly strong woman who I think I really liked, I really trusted, and I felt very honored, actually, that she thought of me. And even though, she didn't know me, very well either, which I think, it works both ways. I think that it is, we worked on some projects together, so I did have that experience, but it wasn't as, I would say, personal, or just like, really getting to know each other one-on-one, more like, then she knew more about my life and what I struggle with, and she shared things about her life that I didn't really know. Like it was almost like we were coworkers, like we worked, together, but just on a whole other level. And I think what I knew of her and why I trusted her was because I could see from just even seeing her for so many years. Like she was a role model and mentor that I could see, like she was a strong woman, but also such a caring woman, a beautiful person inside and out, that I was just like, yes, like, and it was, really, yes, believing in her, but also understanding that the whole idea of this, and the sorority and everything was really, I thought, very innovative. And honestly, I really thought, I wasn't surprised that Keith was involved. Like I kind of was like assuming so, but didn't really make a difference one way or another to me. And yeah, and I think like even though I don't really have much contact with her, I think I know she's doing well. I know she's thriving, and I think she's just a beautiful, beautiful soul still. So
yeah, I knew my friend, I think about 6 or 7 years before she invited me to DOS, and she was my coach for a while, and we became very good friends. Actually, she was in the first intensive I did, and I really admired her, and I loved her energy, and she was just super funny and genuine, and I thought she was really authentic, and we became good friends over the years. She came to my wedding. She was one of the few people who would always, if I had a performance somewhere that I was doing, she would always come and be there, and this was way before DOS, and so I considered her a good close friend for years. And then she invited me to DOS and told me about it. And I remember when she, first invited me and said the whole master slave thing, like I thought she was joking, and I thought it was like a joke, and I couldn't really wrap my head around it. But that whole process, it was very meaningful, because I think I don't know if there would have been many other women who would have asked me to do this or to participate in this that I would have said yes to. Like I trusted her that even if I had questions, or even if there were things I wasn't sure about or how it would look, like I knew I was in good hands with her. And it was someone that I wanted, this was a lifetime commitment. So what it meant is like we were committing to each other, that I wouldn't ever, go away, and that she would never abandon me. And, I really took that promise very serious. She was someone that I wanted that with, and she was someone that I fantasized or saw having in my life forever. I saw us being 60, 70, 80, looking back on everything that's happened. And so it was a very meaningful invitation, and also, me participating. And then during, DOS, things sometimes got rough and rocky, in the sense that I've mentioned this before, I was not a very good slave. I was very defiant. So she would often ask me to do things and I wouldn't do them, or I would just, throw a tantrum, or just be like, no, and like fight. And I don't know, I was not very easy. And, she still stuck to me, and she still, kept on trying. And actually, I knew Keith was in DOS, and people think that like he was commanding us or something like that, or telling us what to do or anything, which is not true. The only time he's ever asked me something in relation to DOS was he said to me, Sahajo, can you be nicer to your master? Because he knew how like I was being with her, and like how hard I was making her life. So that was the only thing he ever really asked me of my participation in DOS. But yeah, it was a very meaningful commitment, and she's someone that I really love, and I really care for, and there's a lot we have in common, and a lot of things we do similarly. And yeah, it's one of my most special relationships that I have in my life for me.
I'll concur with a lot of what you said there, Sahajo, about the woman who invited me was a friend, had been friends for years. We weren't like super tight, but definitely in the category of a friend. would invite this person to my birthday party and would expect her to show up because that's the kind of closeness we were. And so it wasn't even weird when she's like, hey, do you want to go out for dinner? And I was like, sure. And we went out for dinner. And that's where she first told me about DOS. And that was like totally typical within our relationships. That's the level of friendship we had. And I absolutely had the exact same thought of like taking it very seriously. Like, this is somebody who's asking for a lifetime commitment. I've already made one of those. So I take it very, and I took that very seriously, and I would take any kind of commitment like that seriously. And so I had the same thing of visualizing. I was like, okay, so this was before kids. This is, is this a friend that I want to proactively say is going to be there for like kids being born, kids going to school, kids graduating school, kids going off there, them getting married. Like, you start trying to imagine your life decades down the line. How often do you do that? I don't do it super often, but it was a really interesting opportunity. And to think about, like, do I want a lifelong friend in this proactive way? It was like totally novel. This idea that you could proactively like set out to say, I want to be a lifelong friend with this person. I have a cousin who talked about how special it is to have, childhood friends that you're friends with your whole life. And I'd never really thought about it before. And I was like, wow, that's cool. And yeah, it is. And you don't think about that when you're a kid. And you certainly don't set out and be like, hey, friend, do you want to be my friend until we're gray? Like, that's not, it works out for some of us, but other times.
BFF?
Yeah, right. Forever, right?
People used to do those
true.
blood,
Oh yeah, become a blood,
blood,
blood siblings or whatever, right? That was the thing, at least when we were kids. So I took it super seriously, like this idea of proactively building a relationship. And I will also say, when I was considering inviting other women into DOS, it was the same process. I had a thought of, okay, who do I want to have in my life for the rest of my life, for the rest of our lives together? Like, really, really, this is not a light invitation. So it was really meaningful because I certainly saw a DOS like intimately linked with friendship. It wasn't a relationship separate from friendship. It was a deeper friendship in many ways, and a more proactive friendship. And I don't know if that works or not. We unfortunately didn't get to test it to know how long these relationships and friendships, how deep they could have gotten, how long they could have lasted. But I think all of us had the intention of it being for the rest of our time here. It's pretty special.
What you're mentioning about it being tested, because I think it was, it's like, and I was thinking about that, and at least with my master, and because I was thinking as you were all talking, it was like, well, how many of us still have friendships with our masters? And it brings me back to like, what is a friendship, right? Like, is a friendship someone that, and we talked about this the other week, right? Is it someone who you call every day? Is it someone who can you have a friend and just hold them in your heart and hold them high up in your, in your love, but not talk to them? Is that a friendship? And I think it was sad what happened in our situation. In my case, my master, I really admire her. I still do. She was a leader my leader in like a different project that we were doing, and I always thought she was like super strong and super sweet at the same time. And I love those qualities. I was like, oh my gosh, that's like the perfect combo. Like, I want to be strong and I want to be sweet, and I want to be able to hold people like that. So that's how I that's how I saw her. And when she invited me, I was like, yeah, I thought about it for like a few hours. I didn't take as some people took like weeks and months, and for me it was fairly quick, because two of the things she said, well, one of the things, she didn't say anything, but it was just her, and I really, as I said, like, I really wanted to be that. And then the second one was that she said that she was not alone, like there were other women who she was friends with, right? Like we were having like this combination of multiple women helping each other. I thought that was amazing. I was like, what better thing to have than women supporting each other in the way that I knew I needed to be held, and that I knew it was not going to be comfortable. I didn't exactly know how uncomfortable, and not to say, you know, I know when we say this, sometimes it's like, oh, you guys were doing like the calorie thing. And like, it's not like that. I never did the calorie counting. I never did anything that was really against like my values. Never. I wouldn't have. Those were my values, and that would have been betraying me. But it was very uncomfortable because when I failed at something that I was asked, like saying good morning and good evening to my master, to my friend, whenever I failed at that, my agreement was 50 burpees, and I hate burpees. I hate them. So, you know, it was that type of discomfort. And the fact that she was a friend in that sense, that she held me accountable, but she also held me in a really beautiful way because she knew what I wanted to become. Because I had told her those were my values and the things that I wanted to achieve. So yeah, I've been like really thinking about what is friendship, and I do still hold her really dear in my heart. I know she's doing well. We live in different cities. You know, we don't really communicate anymore, unfortunately. But it's one of those people that if she calls me and needs my help, I hope she knows this. I got her. There's no question about that. And you know, same for my slave. I was fortunate enough to be able to share that type of relationship with someone else, and I do feel very strongly about my commitment to her. So I can say that we have developed a more intimate friendship since DOS, but we're still, you know, we're still friends. We don't live in the same country, and you know, she's doing her thing. She's older than me, and I really admire her in many ways. So I really think it's a two-way street for sure. So yeah, beautiful. All right. Does anybody have anything else that you want to add? I know it's a long topic.
This
I can add a little.
It's an emotional topic.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's been a while. I mean, it's tough I'm glad that you ladies said the things that you did, because I mean, to be honest, she's one of the people that I care about the most in the world, you know, and it hurts. It hurts to think about it, because I personally can't have communication with her right now. And I think oftentimes I avoid thinking about it because it's painful. But it's nice to be reminded of how much I just genuinely loved her, admired her, was so excited to have her in my life for the rest of my life, and have us grow old together, and have even the group photos that we did in DOS, to like we fantasized about having those pictures together, naked pictures together, you know, through every stage of our life, pregnant stages, older stages, saggy stages. Linda's shaking her head. No. But that was like, I mean, she was my whole heart, you know, and I really made that commitment very, very seriously. I definitely still feel that way. I don't know how she feels about me. She's been through a whole lot. And, you know, I don't know if I'll ever talk to her again, but there are things I do to honor her in my life. There are things I don't, that I've given up, so to speak, to remind me of, you know, and to honor her in that space. And yeah, I didn't know what this conversation would be like, but I'm glad that you ladies shared what you did. It's actually really nice to just revisit that. So thank you.
Yeah, agreed. I had so there was a monthly assignment that I did in DOS that I had a reminder in my calendar, you know, for every month when it was due. And I never deleted it. It's been reminding me every month for the last, you know, 3, 4, 5 years since we've stopped. because I wanted to remember that bond, that commitment that I had made to her, to myself, to my growth. And yeah, it was very important to me. So it's something that she is in my heart, and I know that for me, that friendship is forever. And yeah, I honor that very much, and it's very special to have that with someone.
Yes.
Thank you. I think this is a very emotional topic, and it made me think, like, is it good to like reach out, or so much has happened, and like things are complicated, and I don't know exactly where what I'm trying to say is, like, I don't know, for her, I'm thinking about my master, like if it's going to be worse if I reach out than to not reach out. So it's always like a battle, but I think this is the beauty of what we're doing. Like, whenever we think about how can we be better, how can we be best friends to someone, how can we deepen our relationship, and we're gonna mess up, we're going to make mistakes, and all of we have, and but I think that the most important thing is to come back to it, and through this beautiful reflections is like, okay, maybe I want to change something, maybe not even with the person before, but like, what about with someone that I'm engaging with new right now? So thank you, really, everybody, for opening up and being vulnerable. These are topics that are really close to our heart and are painful because of what we went through, but we'll be here next week for continuing our series on friendship. Reminder to like, subscribe, and follow us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.